Welcome. This is Impact 2023, our continuing conversation where we talk about all types of topics from race, religion, um, current events, cultural things, everything under the sun. For those of you who've been here before, you know this is our continuing conversation, our safe place where we can have conversations about difficult topics and hopefully come to some conclusions or spark some interest in continuing on the conversation. As always, we encourage everyone who may be watching to type in your questions and your comments into the comment section. We want to make sure that you have an opportunity to make sure that your voice is heard, and we will address the comments that you put down. So please feel free. This is a conversation. That means it goes both ways. So as you put in your comments, we will address them. And as always, we hop right into the topic of the day. The topic of the day today, you could say, is a little bit lighter, with all of the hard topics that are going on nowadays. This one is a little less difficult. It's not police violence. It's not people showing hate towards African American history or anything like that. But this one is a little different. So for those of you who know, this week, last week, technically, the Grammys occurred. So the Grammys has been known, and let me go back a little bit. The Grammys is one of the award ceremonies for musical artists. One of the premier award ceremonies for musical artists. So musical artists from all sorts of genres come into the Grammys, and they celebrate music from the past year, and they award those who they feel have made a significant impact when it comes to their musical talents and abilities. And this year, they did something a little different where they were trying to be more diverse. In the past, people have said that it's been old and stuffy, a lack diversity. And so this year, they put in a little bit more effort, it appeared, to add some breadth to what they were going to have in their programming. And that included making sure that there was diversity when it came to race, diversity when it came to different types of people. So, different types of orientations, just representation. They made an effort to go wide and it paid off. As a result, there was a 3-year high in the ratings for the Grammys, and this was the #1 rated non-sports broadcast of the year. And so it worked. Why are we talking about this? That's always the question when we have these things. There was a controversy, or somewhat of controversy, and the conservative news channels went crazy. And the controversy is this: that there was a performance by a transgender artist that was just steeped in devil stuff. Like, the person was dressed up like a devil. They had other people, the backup dancers were dressed like devils or demons or whatever you want to call this kind of thing. And it was just the whole performance was steeped into that. And so there were a lot of people who got into it. Well, a lot. I don't want to say a lot. There were people who got into an uproar about this, saying, why would the Grammys allow this? Why is devil worshiping or being disrespectful to Christians, conservatives allowed? And so that was the topic du jour. Now, people try to turn it into a political thing, whether you're on this side of the aisle or that side of the aisle. I don't think that's the case. There is some discussion to be had there, and the discussion to be had there is a discussion of, as a Christian, is that something that we should be concerned about or speak out about? Everything is not a topic that needs to be discussed, as we should already know. But is this something that we should feel a certain way? If somebody walks up to you and they say, hey, did you see what was happening at the Grammys? There was an artist who was dressed up like the devil, blah, 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 blah. It seems like they were kind of celebrating devil stuff. Is that okay? There's been a lot of diversity of thought on this. There's certain people who they don't play around when it comes to any kind of imagery that may not align directly up with our faith. And so they won't dress up for things for Halloween, or they won't watch horror movies or anything like that. It's a team or a group of people who believe in that sense, where they have to be. And so there's a group of people who really take seriously making sure that they do not have any kind of affiliation, or they're not, close to anything that may be seeming to be the devil or evil spirits or anything like that. And then there's other people who just, don't care. They look at, devils and things like that. That's just fun and games. The seriousness is, the real thing is God, Christ. All the rest of that stuff is just, unimportant fun and games. And it depends on what side you come on. But the question is, you look at different countries, you look at different religions and different faiths, and they don't play that in some places. They do not play around. You're not going to come on television in certain countries and disrespect other faiths, or if you take that as disrespect. So then the question is, why is that allowed here? Is because we have free speech. Why is that on television? That's what some of the people have really been going at. You have kids watching and things like that. This is a late night program. I think it starts at like 7 o'clock. So not that many kids are going to be watching or participating in it. But is it something that we should be concerned about? Is it really truly a discussion point? And I don't want to just sweep it under the rug as if it was this is a conservative thing where the extreme people are just whining about another topic. But what happens when someone comes to you and says, "How do you feel about this?" or "How should you feel about this as a Christian?" And there was further imagery there, but there was a balance. And let me give the Grammys credit. So this artist decided to dress up and do the whole devil thing, and not simultaneously. Towards the end, there was also a group of hip hop artists, so black rappers, male rappers, who sat across the table, similar to the Last Supper, and their portion of their performance was draped in imagery of the Christian faith. The Last Supper. There were references to God and references to faith. The chorus line that was going on while they were having their thing was based about belief and believing, and so there was a yin and yang type situation. And so just to make sure that we're not ignoring all that happened here, let me acknowledge I didn't watch the Grammys, and probably most of you probably didn't watch the Grammys. If you did watch it, maybe watch the clip. Maybe you heard about this controversy. Maybe you did. So it's not about really the Grammys, but it's more so about what our reaction or response is to situations like this, where people are celebrating the devil in large platforms and things like that. Comment. Here is the problem. You can't claim your freedom to be who you are and not allow others to be who they are. Great comment. That was one of the things that was being said. One person who talked about this said that you got these people who are complaining about the fact that the devil part was on here, but they're not recognizing that at the same time there was a part that was pro-Christianity. You have people who always want to go up on stage and thank God and thank their mom. So if you're going to have the opportunity for people to be able to do this, and you're going to be in a free society, then you're going to have the opportunity for people to do the opposite of whatever they want to do. That's a hard thing. It's truth. That's a hard thing sometimes. It is, when you see people do things let's be frank. Let's be frank about it. I have seen a couple of artists, and I'm not a big music guy, so don't think this is coming from a place of a lot of music wisdom here. But I've seen a couple of artists who are LGBTQ or allies who steep themselves in devil imagery, and it appears to be a reaction to the fact that they may feel or may have been abused, mistreated by people who call themselves Christians. They feel the over the years and the time, they feel that the vitriol that Christians give towards that community, and so as a result, they react by then going extreme the other way. And so more of that is just acting out and hurt than anything else. I say this, I think they have the right to do whatever they want to do. Here it goes. I don't know who this artist it was who dressed up as a devil. Not interested in if that's the kind of music you got, I would never be interested in it. I wouldn't listen to it. I don't know what they do now. I guess you stream, or maybe you go to the store and you purchase. I don't know if you still purchase music. But whatever opportunity I had to take in this music, or even go to YouTube or Spotify, I don't know what's out there. I wouldn't do it. That's one of those situations where if I was, on social media, don't like it. That's it. You do what you want to do. Every opportunity that I'm going to have, I'm going to represent what I believe, and I'm going to advocate for the faith that I believe is true. But if you want to do something else, my TV, I don't know about y'all, but my TV has a remote. I can click to a different channel. I can cut it off. I don't have to participate in what you're doing. And so I really don't have to make a big fuss or a big stink about it. I do understand the people who do. Because what they're saying is, well, you have other folk who get exposure to it. You got kids who are getting exposure to it. You have people who are easily influenced who will be exposed to this. And so I understand that argument. I hear that argument. However, we're in a kind of a society where everybody is free to do what they want to do. If this was one of these strictly religious countries, if this was Iran, or if this was, India or something like that, where religion ruled everything that we did, that would be a different ballgame. But this isn't that type of country. This is a country that's open to all religions, and so we have to respect one another. And I think as Christians, our space is not to sit back and be so critical, but our space is to sit back and say, you can say or do what you want. Let us show you what the truth is. Another comment. Is the abuse directed by some Christians towards others the reason the church is losing its impact? I do think that there is an obsession, an overly obsessive part of us Christians sometimes criticizing others. Like, we're so busy trying to tell people what not to do. And that's not all of us. I'll say there's a certain group of Christians who are so busy trying to tell people what not to do that we forget to tell people what's good. As the gospel, the good news. We're so busy saying, don't do this, don't do that, don't be like this, don't be like that. And so that's where the abuse comes in. If you spend the majority of your time as a Christian being like, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, and you shouldn't do this, and this is bad, and that's bad, and that's bad. I mean, that sounds bad. We're just nagging on people. And so I think that's where some of the abuse comes into play, where people just get so excited about the negativity, the no's, the don't do this, don't do that they forget that there's so much stuff that you can do and should be doing. You're so busy telling people how to live. Well, you can't live like this, instead of going out here and trying to help people to live great lives, better lives, to try to help people to experience the love of Christians, the brother, sister, the sister, all of that kind of stuff, the love of the Christian family. So instead of us spending our time on some of the good stuff, we spend time on the bad stuff. And just like, and that goes exactly to the example of what the gentleman was saying when he was talking about the analysis of the Grammys. And he said, to be truthful, you're spending time looking at the fact that, they had the devil part, but how many people thank God after they got their award? How did you see that the end of the show, when it closed out on a Christianity heavy performance? And so I think, sometimes we get wrapped in that negativity. So if somebody asked me, because that's the reason we're talking about this, is the question. If somebody asked you as a Christian, how do you feel about these type of situations? So if somebody asked me, my response would be, people have an opportunity to do whatever they want to do. As a Christian, is that offensive? Not so much. It's more so, it's just not for me. You're trying to be provocative. You're trying to, try to come at us. But truly, because this person was a transgender person, the last person I saw, the artist who did it, was LGBTQ. It looks like it's coming from a place of hurt. And so I can't really get on you for being on that place of hurt. Now that's when for me, I extend the hand and be like, well, if you ever really want to come to a place of love and understanding, you can come on this way. We are called to love the sinner, not the sin, and I think that's a wonderful comment there and a wonderful sentiment there, because that's the reality of the matter. We are called to love the sinner and not the sin. So at any point, and I think that's where we get messed up, is that we forget that all of us are sinners, and just because somebody does something that we don't like doesn't mean that we don't supposed to love them and show them the love of God, show them the love of Christ. Another comment. Notice that the scriptures, Jesus only really criticized those who claim to be with God, yet they do not fulfill the mission and the ways of God. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one, because you're right. When we sit back, that's the main people that were criticized, as those who were walking on the journey, or misrepresenting the walking on the journey, or walking the wrong way, but more so misrepresenting. He didn't really get on people who were doing the wrong thing and putting them down, just offered the opportunity to get on the path to do the right thing. And so I think that's where it comes. Now, if I'm not going to be upset if, television shows, because if I ran a television channel or a program and somebody came up here and wanted to dress up in devil stuff and, be provocative, I would say no. And say, no, we're not doing that, because we're not trying to be disrespectful to any group. I'm not going to go out of my way to be disrespectful to anybody. And I feel like that's what you're trying to do. And so I think if that's the route that we're going to come, that's fine. I'm not going to be mad, because I would do that. But at the same time, if somebody is allowed to go ahead and do whatever they want to do and be like, that's not cool, I don't like it, but not going to make a big funk about it. I think our opportunity here is to recognize and realize that there are a bunch of people who feel hurt. And we just have to remind them that just because there's some folk out here who may be Christians or call themselves Christians, who may hurt you, the reality of the matter is God loves everybody, and that includes you regardless of where you're at. Whether you are somebody who believes, somebody who doesn't believe, whether you are a perfect person, which there is none, or not a perfect person, whether you have this type of lifestyle or that type of lifestyle. I think this is our opportunity to remind people who we are. And so as the Grammys have gone on, and as people have sat there and they've talked this way or that way, when you ask me, or I'm going to look for the opportunity to have a discussion and to bring people in instead of complaining. And so I don't know, based on the comments, it's good. As it was said, love the sinner, not the sin. It seems like a lot of people are on the same page. And so as you go forward in the week, and this is what I try to do now, is to remind ourselves, as we go forward in the week, what does this do for us? Is this? this is a reminder, and what we talked about today is that maybe we just need to be more cautious of always telling people what not to do, because that's starting to gnaw at people and hurt people and push people away, and concentrate on telling them the good news, what to do, what is offered, how God is helping us. And so, when we find ourselves always saying no, 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 let's find ourselves saying something a little bit better and a little bit different. And so that's the challenge and the task going forward. Just monitor our words. I'm going to monitor mine and monitor how I do things, and monitor how I'm looking at stuff, and making sure I'm not being that negative person when it comes to Christianity, making sure that I push people down and keep telling them to stop. No, don't. All right. Well, it wasn't a long one, but I think it was interesting. I appreciate all the comments that came in. Appreciate the conversation, and hopefully that sparked some some thoughts out there with everyone. As always, we are here on Tuesdays, 8 o'clock. We'll be here next week. Thursdays for Bible study, for those of you who can join us at 7 o'clock, and every Sunday. Same place on YouTube and Facebook at 10 o'clock for worship service. My name is Nathaniel, and this is Impact 2023. Have a good one.